What's up guys, and welcome back to Retro Gamer Gen X's Retro Gaming and Computing channel. Today's video is going to be the first of a video series called A Look Inside, where we're going to be taking apart classic video game consoles and computers and just showing you how to disassemble them and showing what's inside of them and basically what makes them tick. So the first of these videos, we're going to be taking apart a ColecoVision here. This one's having some issues with the controller port 2. Essentially, one of the 74LS541 chips inside has succumbed to ESD damage and is no longer working, so that controller port no longer works. Now, I have done the preliminary work by desoldering the chip and putting on the socket already. So basically, we just got to take this thing back apart and put the chip back in, and it should work for us. So without any further ado, guys, let's go ahead and take a look inside. Alright guys, so here's the ColecoVision here on the bench, and like I was saying earlier, it does have a problem with controller port number 2, so we're going to go ahead and open this thing up here and fix controller port 2. Now another thing I can't stress enough is having ESD, so my table is grounded here with ESD protection, plus I'm going to go ahead and grab my ESD wristband here and put this on. These old game systems are very susceptible to electrostatic discharge, and yeah, not a good thing, guys. That's what happened to controller port 2 here. Now, I did go ahead and recap the system already as well, so you guys can see here, these are all the capacitors from that. And there was also a transistor that was messed up in there and was causing the video signal to be fuzzy, and I'll show you guys where that's at on the board later on. It's kind of a common problem with this, but this is the transistor right here. But yeah, let's go ahead and get this thing taken apart here. So here's the screws that go to this. Now obviously I've had this open to, you know, recap it and do other things inside, so I just decided to keep one screw in, but there's 8 screws in total to hold the 2 shell pieces together. And let's see, they're here, 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 and on the sides here, and back here, and here, and then the one I have the screw in to hold it all together right now. So let me go ahead and take that apart. I'll just flip it over like this, get the screw out. So now that we got all the screws out, you just basically have to pop it open. So the whole back piece here is loose, but the front, it has this like bezel. As you can see here, it has this bezel up front, and it has 3 screws up front that you can take out if you take the sticker off, but you don't want to do that. So you want to pry along the top here with like a flat tip screwdriver and be able to pop that off. But yeah, let me go ahead and show you how that's done. Alright guys, so you just get a flat tip screwdriver like this, or you can get one of those plastic spelunkers or whatever they call them, and you just want to get the tip underneath the lip of that bezel there, and then you want to kind of pry backwards with the very tip of the screwdriver back on the bottom piece and pop it out and over like that. And you'll have to do it in a couple different spots. I do it there and then do it right here, and you feel like you're about to break the system, but honestly it's pretty tough. Unless you really do it too hard, you're not gonna break it. So, but be careful. And you just got to pry it out right here, and it should pop out here. There we go. And really guys, that's the toughest part about taking the system apart, is just doing that. So yeah, there we go. There's the inside of the Coleco. Let me go ahead and get rid of the top piece here. Oh, wait a minute. Let me show you this too. So here's your buttons, your power and your reset buttons right here. So just make sure you don't misplace these. You don't want to lose those. But let me go ahead and put this thing away here. Now, to take the rest of this thing apart, really there's only 2 more screws holding this RF shield in. There's one right here in the corner, and then one here in the back corner as well, as you can see. Now, there's also a solder blob put here in between the RF shield and the motherboard's ground. And really all you got to do is just hold your soldering iron to it as you're pulling up, and it'll come loose. It's not too hard. You don't have to really desolder it, just get it liquefied and pull it up. But there is another piece that might be soldered on. So if you have an older revision motherboard, right here there'll be a braided piece of wire soldered on between the 2 halves of the RF shield, and you'll have to desolder that. And that one can kind of be a pain, honestly. But yeah, let me go ahead and get these screws removed, and we'll get down to the bare motherboard here. Alright, so now we got the screws removed. Remember how I was telling you how to get this removed with the soldering iron? So just a quick demonstration on how to do this. Pretty easy, guys. So you just hold your soldering iron tip down here onto that soldering blob, or on that solder blob, and essentially just let it liquefy. And once it liquefies, you might have to add some flux, but once it does, just pull up on the shield and pull it right off, and it'll be okay. And it'll expose the motherboard for you. So pretty easy to get off. I've heard a lot of people complain about it, but that's one of the easier RF shields I've actually removed that's been soldered onto a board. Now, to fully remove the motherboard, there's 2 more screws you have to take out. There's one up here in this corner here, and there's another one in the middle of the motherboard, like right here. So once you get those taken out, you can fully take the motherboard out, and you should be good to go to do any kind of repairs you might need to do. Now, we're going to go ahead and fix this. I'm going to go ahead and stick the chip into the socket that I got there, and we're going to go ahead and see if this thing will actually work for us. But first, I do want to say I got the chip from a fellow YouTuber and a fellow retro gamer. His name is Oni. I'm going to go ahead and post the link to his channel up above and down below as well. So definitely check him out. But we got to talking, and he gave me this chip. So he also gave me a sound chip for a Coleco expansion module that you put together. You can download it, or you can get it from PCBWay and actually make your own expansion module, super game module, or whatever it's called. And this is one of the chips that I need to complete that. So definitely a big thanks to him for giving me this. Really cool guy. I didn't expect everything he gave me. This is just crazy. So another thing he gave me here is this Super Mario Brothers Famicom cartridge. Really cool. I don't own a Famicom, so it's like his way of telling me, hey dude, you need to get a Famicom, I guess. But really cool. And in exchange, I did send him a couple games as well. We just tried to keep it on the cheap, you know. So I feel he did way more than I did, sending me the chips, but we did sign them. I put my autograph on the ones I sent him, and he sent me his, so kind of cool. Definitely a really cool YouTuber. Like I said, definitely check him out, guys. And also, he sent me this little pack of stickers, which is kind of cool too. So, like I said, definitely check out Oni. He's really, really cool. Oh, hey, you guys are still here. Well, if you guys like the content, don't forget to hit that like, that subscribe, and that notification bell. That way you get notifications every time I drop new content like this. So I'm going to go ahead and get back to this game. Why don't you guys go ahead and get back to the video here. Now let's go ahead and talk about common issues that the ColecoVision has. And really this system has quite a few different unique problems with it that are easily solved. And most of them revolve around power. So first you need to check the jack back here. Now this thing is very, very old. It's like 40 years old, and it has those 4 pins in there. And eventually, after time of people wiggling it in and out, in and out, in and out, it tends to fail. So on the very back of the jack, there are some like little solder points that you can actually solder again, resolder, reflow, and just make the connections a little bit more solid. That was a problem with mine, and I did reflow those, and it did tend to help with the jack, because with the jack, if you barely pressed it, the graphics would go all crazy and it would just screw up the entire ColecoVision. Now another thing that goes bad all the time on these things is the power switch. So if you turn on the power to the Coleco and your graphics are glitched, but the game seems to work fine, and if you switch the power off and power it back on, and then it works fine after that, then that's not a problem with your RAM or anything bad with the system. It's just your power switch. Now this power switch supplies 2 different voltages to the Coleco. It's 12 volt and 5 volt, which goes to the video RAM. And essentially, if it doesn't work, your graphics are going to get all garbled and scrambled and all that. So I did go ahead and rebuild mine. Basically, I took it all the way apart till you get to the contacts, and then I cleaned the contacts up with isopropanol contact cleaner. I also used a very fine grit sandpaper, and it took them from a nasty green color to a really nice brass color, and it works flawlessly now. So definitely a vast improvement to the ColecoVision just doing that. So if you guys get one of these systems, make sure you rebuild that. Now another thing that tends to fail in the Coleco is this video RAM up here. So these are the 4116 RAM chips. And essentially these run on all 3 voltages, the -5, the 5 volt, and the 12 volt, and they run very, very, very hot. And these have a very high failure rate. Now they do sell like conversion kits where you can use the 4164 RAM chips in here. You got to do some modifications to the board, to the inductors, and I think you have to like bridge or put a jumper in between like 5 volts and what would have been the 12 volt rail. But definitely a pretty cool mod. I would suggest doing it if you're having failing RAM. If you're not, you can just leave everything well enough alone. It should be fine. Really, like I said, most of the graphical issues you're having is because of that damn power switch or because of the power jack in the back. But these do tend to fail too, so because they run so hot, unlike the 4164s that run on just 5 volts. So makes a huge difference when you're pumping 12 volts into a little chip. So, but that's a pretty common issue with these as well, guys. Now, another common problem here is with the RF. It can get really, really fuzzy, and that was a problem with mine. And I did put a really dirty AV mod on mine, and I did get a pretty good video signal out of it. So I know that it's not anything with my system, it's just with this RF modulator. Now, to recap the system, you actually have to take this apart. Now, this is a daughter board here, and it's all soldered. The whole RF shield is soldered onto the bottom. It's soldered onto this board as well. So you have to desolder all that to be able to take the RF shield off. And then there's some pins that you actually have to desolder to get it off the pin header, basically. And then you can essentially just pull this whole board up and get it out of there. Now, I think this board had 2 caps on the bottom of it, and then underneath on the motherboard there was another cap as well. You kind of look out for, guys, when you're taking that off. and trying to recap, because this part can be a total pain in the butt to do. Just so you guys know, just taking that off is a pain. Now, another thing that affects the ColecoVision is no sound. So if you plug it in and it doesn't have sound, it's probably this pot right here in the RF modulator. Just take a little small flat tip screwdriver, stick it in there and twist it until you start getting sound back. So that's a pretty simple fix there, but a lot of people overlook it and just think there's something seriously wrong with the system. Yeah, just over the years it gets out of adjusted and needs to be adjusted again. So the next thing that really is a common issue is this, controller port issue that's affecting this one, where it just gets that ESD static charge and zaps these chips. These are those 74 LS 541 chips, and they're real prone to static discharge and just dying. And essentially, whenever that happens, you just got to replace these chips. Now, they do sell these controller port protector things you can solder right on the bottom of these, and it's just basically has diodes going to ground, and it does help and it does save this from happening. So if you're having this problem, which is what I'm going to do, is get these too and get these soldered on, that way I can protect this. But yeah, if you're not getting any kind of control out of the controller port, it's probably what your issue is going to be in the ColecoVision. Now let's talk about some of the chips on the board and what they do here. So first off, let's go ahead and start with this one here. This is the Z80 processor, the one and only Z80 that we all know, that's in a ton of different consoles and computers and arcade machines from the 1970s and 80s. I believe it started production in 1976 and just ended production in 2024, giving it, a 48-year production run. Just completely amazing. Although the 6502 is still being produced to this day. But yeah, pretty cool that this thing runs off the Z80 architecture. Alright guys, so here's the BIOS chip to the ColecoVision. Now that's when you first turn on the console and it brings up that ColecoVision splash screen. That's where that's coming from. So it does have the BIOS on a chip. Now there is a different chip that you can put in here that's a fast load BIOS, that when you put your game cart in, it actually loads it pretty much instantly and you don't have to sit there and wait. So pretty cool that they do offer a secondary BIOS chip on this. Now here we have the sound chip, which is the Texas Instruments, I can't remember what it is, but they call it the PSG, or Programmable Sound Generator. I'm gonna have to read this thing to see what it is again, guys. Let me see here. So this is the Texas Instruments SN76489. So the next chip here is going to be the VDP. This is the one with this heatsink on it. So this is basically the video chip. It also takes care of the inputs coming from the controller buffer on the data line as well. So yeah, definitely a really cool chip here. I'm not going to get into the specifics about like how many sprites or colors or anything. I'm just kind of pointing out in this video just simply where these chips are on the board, guys. So this is the video chip here on the Coleco. Alright guys, and this is the video RAM right here. So this is the 16 kilobytes of video RAM. This is the 4116 RAM chips that are prone to overheat and fail. And these are the 1K by 4-bit RAM chips that make up the 1 kilobit of system RAM the CPU uses on the ColecoVision. And over here are those 74LS 541 chips that are the basically those buffer chips going from the controllers to the VDP on the data bus line, just sending the bit data, letting it know which button and which direction on the controllers were pressed. So really that's about it, guys, for the Coleco. They're all off-the-shelf parts, pretty simple. So let's go ahead and get that chip put in, get this thing fixed, test it out, and we'll call it a night here. guys, so we're going to go ahead and test the controllers out just to make sure that they're working properly here. So let me go ahead and grab that second controller. And we're going to go ahead and press number 3, which it wouldn't even do before. So let's see if it works. And it does. Perfect. So we'll test all the directions. Up, down, left, right. Good. Buttons. Looks good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Asterisk, 0, and pound sign. Yeah, I say pound, I'm old. If you're young, that's a hashtag, I guess. But anyway, let's go ahead and check the other one. And the other controller didn't have any issues, but let's just double check to make sure it's working properly as well. Down, up, left, right. Looks good. Button, button. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Asterisk, 0, and pounds. Perfect. So it looks like we are good to go, guys. So everything's up and running. I'm going to go ahead and call this fixed here. And I just wanted to thank everybody that watched the video today. And I should be doing a lot more of these look inside videos, so keep an eye out for that. If you guys like the content, don't forget to hit that like, that subscribe, and that notification bell. That way you guys get notifications every time I drop new content like this. Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and play the ColecoVision since it's fixed now. You guys have a great one. Peace out, y'all.
Game over, man. It's